The Pilgrims never invited Native Americans to the first Thanksgiving. In fact, most of what you were taught about Thanksgiving in school, it's a myth that was invented during the Civil War when the United States needed a great morality tale about its origins. But this is what really happened. October 1621, not November, October, the colonists at Plymouth held a 3-day harvest celebration. They didn't call it Thanksgiving. The Puritans actually fasted on real Thanksgiving. We're celebrating that 51 of them had made it through to the harvest. And the part of the story that you were told about them being helped by the local Wampanoag, that part is true. Just before the Pilgrims had shown up, the Wampanoag had suffered through a horrible pandemic caused by the white man's diseases that had killed 9 out of every 10 of them. So they took sympathy on the poor, starving colonists and taught them how to survive. Colonists, as part of the harvest celebration, started shooting their guns up in the air. And the Wampanoag, hearing that, thought that they were under attack. So 90 of their warriors went rushing to help defend the colonists. And that's when they discovered that the Pilgrims were having a party that they had not been invited to. But they decided to stay anyway. And it was kind of a BYOB party. The Wampanoag brought with them, according to the colonist records, 5 different deer, waterfowl like ducks and geese, shellfish like clams, mussels, and eels, a corn dish that was like a thick porridge, some pumpkin and some gourd dishes, some nuts and berries. No turkey. You might think that the colonists were kind of mad that these guys had crashed their party, but there wasn't a lot they could do about them. There were only 53 colonists alive, and the Wampanoag outnumbered them about 2 to 1. So yes, the Thanksgiving dinner was a real event, but it wasn't what it was described to you when you were in school. That was a much later American invention. And sadly, the friendship of that first Thanksgiving dinner would not continue. More and more English would arrive. They would establish courts that for some reason always seemed to find in favor of the English colonists against the Wampanoag. Livestock would be introduced that would force the Wampanoag off of their land. And in 1675, the 2 previous friends would go to war against each other in what was known as the King Philip's War. And it would be one of the most deadly wars in all of the Americas per capita. The time they were done, the colonists would have burnt to the ground the Wampanoag's villages. They would have killed thousands of them, and they would have taken thousands more, made them slaves, and sent them off to the Caribbean. And they cut off the head of the great warrior chief Metacom, and for 20 years, the Pilgrims displayed it in their town. History is always more complicated and more interesting than the myth that we have been taught.